Go.
Hi guys, Molly Galbraith here of Girls Gone Strong, and today I'm bringing you Secrets to Mastering the Squat, Part 3. I'm here with my business partner, Jim Laird. Together we own J&M Strength and Conditioning in Lexington, Kentucky. One of our focuses is females. We work with a lot of females. I'd say about 75% of our clientele is female, and we like to get them the most amount of results with the least amount of effort. And the way we do that is we teach them how to lift heavy, and lift properly. Now, most of the information out there teaching people how to squat is geared towards men and often geared towards powerlifters and geared powerlifters who are wearing squat suits. And so today, Jim's going to give you some information that he's learned over the last 12 years in working with females on teaching them how to squat properly.
Thanks, Molly. And just so you know up front, this is completely informal, so bear with us. But one of the biggest things you have to realize is we could literally do an entire seminar on just how to set the squat up. So I'm going to keep this as simple as possible and give you some practical information that can help you out with some of the mistakes that I've seen. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the setup. If position is everything in the squat, and if you have a bad setup, you're pretty much doomed from the beginning. So one of the big problems is most powerlifters, like me, a former powerlifter, we have no mobility in the shoulders. This is not the case with most women. So with most women, you want to grab the bar actually pretty close, and you're actually going to pull yourself under the bar, okay? And if you come around back here loose, you'll see Molly's going to create a shelf, okay? So she's going to use her traps right here to create a shelf, and she's got this nice elbow angle, okay? You'll see people put the bar way down here. That doesn't work well for most women because they end up trying to use their arms to hold it, or they'll put it way up on their neck. That doesn't work well. Right here in that sweet spot, in that nice fleshy spot, is where it works for most women. Now, there's exceptions to every rule, okay? We're just giving you some general guidelines. You kind of have to experiment. But that mid-bar is usually what works the best. From there, most people do really well with a split stance. You just kind of got to figure that out. She's going to, before she unracks it, she's actually going to want to take a nice big breath here and get set. And then she's going to unrack it. That's where all this breathing comes in. She takes a step back and another step. And as you get more comfortable, you'll be able to step right into that instantly, okay? Now, the reason we use the box at first is because most women have no idea about position. So Molly's going to create pressure in her low back. She's going to sit onto the box, okay? Now, we're going to stop her right there because that's where I can adjust her. I can adjust her forward, back. Look at, she's got that nice curvature of her natural spine. Her head's in a good position. Her eyes are straight ahead. And then she can squat back up and use her hips. Most women don't know how to sit back into their hips without flying into extension and up. So this is great. I don't use the box squat all the time in training, but I do use it in the beginning to kind of adjust and say, this is where you need to be. Okay? Brace and come on up. Good. And then walk it in. And then also you can see off the box when you make people pause on it, you can see if they're actually launching themselves into extension. A lot of women do that. They basically come down and they'll launch themselves with their spine into extension to come up. So getting them to pause with even just a bar, teaching them to use their core to come up is a really good way to do that. But half of it is just getting the right position in the lean. So we're going to come over from here, and just so you know, Molly has really long limbs and a really short torso. So she is naturally going to have a wider squat, okay? And she's naturally going to have a little bit of a lean. So you have to be kind of aware of the body type that you're working with. Forcing someone like her to do narrow stance squats with a regular bar is probably not going to be a great long-term strategy. So what we're going to do is set her up with the bar now, okay? She's going to do the same thing. She's going to pull herself under the bar. It's always nice to help with the hair. Yep. And she's going to lock herself in. She's going to take her breath here and set her core. Okay? And then she's going to unrack it. She's going to get her feet set. Toe position, you want to play with it a little bit. Okay? It's okay to do different stances. It's okay to turn toes in a little, turn toes out. See what looks best. I used to work with Charlie Francis when I was really a young guy. I seen Charlie Francis up in Canada coach. And he always said if it looked right, it probably was right. So you want to look at basically if it looks comfortable. The biggest thing here is she's going to brace. She's going to break at the hips to drive her knees out. And then she goes into her squat. She opens her hips up. She comes up. Just like that. Now you notice how she's fighting for vertical shin, but she's dropping right in between her hips. And that's a nice shin angle for her. She probably needs to toe her right foot in just a little bit. but that's pretty good for Molly. So keep going. Yep. So you want to squeeze that bar, and you want to drive that back into the bar and bring your hips. So you notice she drives her back into the bar and brings her hips. Back into the bar, brings her hips. You can go ahead and walk it in. So to sum that up for you, play with your foot position, okay? Narrow your stance up, widen it up, turn your toes in, turn your toes out. Try and find what's comfortable for you, okay? Lock that back in, arms close. You also have to remember too, a lot of women are so mobile in their shoulders, they'll actually, when they squat, their arms will come under them. So they always want to be glued to your side, and your back needs to be glued together. Now, what we can do is somebody like Molly, who has that really short torso, in order for her to squat her narrower, we can put her in the safety bar, which is almost like a front squat.
And let me explain really quickly. If you heard me breathing, what I was doing there was I was taking a big deep breath in, blowing all my air out, and forcing my ribs down. Okay, ribs down is a good position for the spine, and then I took a breath underneath that. Okay, because if I just went and breathed in, okay, I would go into extension, my ribs would flare. So I do the breath in, blow out, and then breathe underneath that brace.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of people when they take a breath, they'll fly into extension, and that's when you start using that spine, and that, especially for most of the ladies who we work with who want long-term health, lifting everything with directly with your spine is not going to be good for long-term longevity. So Molly's going to hop in there, okay, and she's going to arch it out, and she's going to set it up. Come on over here, Liz. So Molly's got a little bit of a narrower stance, okay. Molly has I'm going to give you a little tip here that I got from Eric Otter up at iFast. Molly has a tendency for her right knee to go into valgus, which means collapse. So what we're going to do with Molly's right foot is we're going to turn it in a little bit more. A little more, there you go. And she's actually going to drive off her right leg, which is going to help her stay out of valgus. So she's going to brace her core like she has been. She's going to drive her knees out, and she's going to sit right down between her hips and up. Good, nice, drive off that right leg. And that's really good. Her eyes are straight ahead. She's neutral. That's a narrower stance for her, and then she can even play with it a little more. She can even bring her feet in a little bit closer if we want to do a little narrower stance. And she's going to have to brace even harder, and she's going to have to drive out and drive off that right leg. Good, and then up she comes. Okay, toe that right foot in a little bit more. There you go, drive off that right leg. Good, and that's an effective way for us, go ahead and walk that back in. That's an effective way for us to take somebody whose body type does not like narrow squatting and get her to squat narrow.
Right, so guys, we hope you enjoyed it. And like Jim said, there's going to be all different body types. Don't be afraid to play around with it a little bit. Make sure that you always start with an unloaded bar. You don't want to be playing around with different foot positions with a lot of load on your back. So I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching.
You're welcome. Thank you.